It doesn't matter to me what your perspective is of this Bitcoin chart, because by the end of it, this video is either going to add to that or change it completely. And I'm very, very excited to show this to you. But before I get to it, I want to cover the core normal analysis that I like to deliver to you on this YouTube channel, which is going to be all about the short-term charts. Now, this is a really, really big video. I'm going to be talking to you about how I think Bitcoin could, honestly, I hate to say it, but have a real chance of dropping down to $11,000. And we're going to cover some of the things that could also save Bitcoin. It's going to be a really big one, but before we even get to that, guys, like I said, the short-term analysis is what's most important to me. And this is, we've had a characteristic, right? I mean, look, since this low right here at the end of November, like 21st of November, around there, late November, we've been in a trend up until basically yesterday, today, of setting higher lows and higher highs. Now, we're still setting higher highs, but we have somewhat negated that higher lows pattern right here. And that puts us in a bit of a tricky position because Bitcoin is following a very, very similar pattern to what it always seems to produce right before a really big drop in the market. And that big drop in the market is simply where we get something that looks a little bit like what was going on up here. We formed some sort of a, kind of rising pattern looking a little bit like this, and we just straight up copy paste this and drag it down. And we're in something similar right now. Now, obviously, the current pattern that we're in is different, right? It's a little bit smaller. It doesn't, last as long and so on and so forth. But ultimately, guys, we've got a similar pattern. And I think this is what's most important is we're not looking for exact repetitions of what we've seen before, but we're looking for some rhyming. We're looking for, some of the similar characteristics to be showing up in similar places. And, bottom line, the most, common sign that Bitcoin has shown us when it's about to dump down is that, we might do a little bit of trading sideways or whatever the hell this was, but then eventually we're going to start kind of slowly trending up and then bam, we lose it. We've done this so many times. It's ridiculous. Look at this, slowly trending up and bam, we lose it, right? And then sometimes it's the catastrophic one that takes us down to new lows in the market. And it looks like we've got like the final step in that formula right now. I mean, this is a very harsh rejection, and generally that's what the end of these trends are characterized by, is these very harsh rejections where, quite quickly we actually undo a lot of the progress that we've actually been able to make. Take a look at this. From this point where Bitcoin traded at 16.6 after kind of pumping up from the very low, kind of $15,000 range here. From this point up to the high, it took us 14 and a half days to rise up by $1,700. And to drop down by those very same $1,700 right here took us 2.5 days, all right? So basically 2 weeks compared to 2.5 days. We managed to erase that progress really, really quickly. And if we stopped dumping earlier, this would have been a good thing, and I would have been really happy because it means that we're in a standard pullback. But the fact that we've erased so much of our price action, to me, is a red flag. What's also worse is we've kind of lost a lot of support. Take a look at this. We've got our 4-hour Ichimoku cloud right here. We're right at the bottom of it now. We could have bounced off at the green Kumo right here. We didn't do it. We could have bounced anywhere within the cloud. We didn't do it. We were honestly, it looks like if we just trade sideways, we're just going to trade straight out of the support cloud. And the support ends here on the 4-hour time frame. I mean, we've lost it already pretty much, which I don't really like the look of. And, we flip this onto a larger time frame and it looks even worse because it looks like this kind of 1-day Ichimoku resistance, which we're going to talk a lot about in today's video later on, has actually, kind of given us some sort of a rejection here. And I'm not liking that either. I want to zoom in though and just kind of focus on the actual naked chart for a second, without any indicators, just my horizontal boxes and lines. And what I think that we've got here is a situation where Bitcoin has still actually come down to capture a bit of support. And if we take a look at this still on the 1-hour time frame, but this time with the VPVR indicator, which I made a video on, same for the Ichimoku cloud, just type this into the YouTube search bar for whichever indicator you want to learn about respectively. These are videos that are part of my 4Flies Academy courses, which almost every VIP member gets for free when you follow these steps on screen, clicking on this link down here. That'll take you into my free Telegram channel where you can contact me following these 2 clicks here, and you can ask me how to join. We like to keep it all in Telegram just so you can chat with me directly. If you punch this into the YouTube search bar, you'll see my free videos where I I mean, they're not free, but they're in the academy, but you're getting them for free. It's kind of, you know, a little trial to what's in the paid stuff where you can learn how to use these indicators. And the VPVR, I think quite interestingly right here, is actually showing us that the point of control, meaning like the area where most of the volume for Bitcoin has been exchanged, lies at 16.5. And very quickly, if you don't know what the VPVR is, it is just a visualization of where Bitcoin tends to trade throughout the chart, right? So where we have these gaps, it shows that Bitcoin doesn't generally stick around in this price range much. Where we have these spikes, it means that Bitcoin does generally tend to stick around in this price range quite a lot, which is extremely obvious if we kind of follow some of the price action here. And generally, when the market wants to come down for support, it'll come down to levels like this. So that's a good sign. I mean, you know, look, I don't like the fact that this pullback is so big, but we fell down to a good level, and as long as we don't lose this level, I'm okay. Honestly, I'm okay. I don't like the fact that we're here, but I'm okay with it. And I think that this support level basically ends at about 16,400. This is where a bunch of the support hits have come down to. Can we wick below it? Yes. Do I want us to? Absolutely not. It would not be pleasant at all. You know, and I think that as long as we're able to hold this level, this is a pretty good area of support, and it's definitely something that I don't want to shy away from too much. If we actually throw a Fibonacci up on the chart as well, we are at the 618 retracement right now, looking at this line right here, which, if you've been watching this channel for a while, or if you know anything about the Fibonacci retracements, is the most important level on the Fibonacci retracement by far for Bitcoin, typically, or at least most people would say that. That's obviously not a fact or, you know, set in stone, but that's certainly my opinion, and that's what most people in the space will agree on, is the 618, 66 levels are definitely the most essential Fibonacci support levels right here, and we're exactly down to that, you know. So one of the big things that I want to make sure of is that we don't start panicking just because things are, you know, perhaps temporarily not quite going in our favor, right? I mean, you know, things can be bad for a good amount of time. We can drop down for, you know, a good amount of time, but as long as we've still got support, and more importantly, as long as that support is still good and strong, which I definitely think we have right now, we might not be that bad. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. You know, this is a situation in the market, I think, where, you know, we do have, you know, quite a bit of a dump, more than we should have had potentially, but we still haven't failed at key levels, and that is something which I think could be useful. If we end up finding a bit of a recovery off this level, I would anticipate that Bitcoin is going to kind of potentially struggle up at the top of this range here, where these spikes are, you know, getting up into the low 17K range once again, you know, potentially finding some resistance here. If you're bearish, that's where you might expect Bitcoin to capture a little bit of resistance and then slide all the way back down, which would potentially mean setting new lows, and I'm going to get to that in just a minute as well. If you're excited for it, do me a favor and smash up those likes. And obviously, this all, you know, contributes to some really, really nice trading opportunities if you're able to take advantage of the volatility. I want to remind you guys that Bybit is running a $30,000 deposit bonus right now, which means that depending on how much you depending on how much you deposit onto Bybit and how much you trade, you stand to get up to $30,000 as a cash deposit bonus, meaning that, you know, this is just money that's credited into your account, and you can trade with it. You can do whatever the hell you like with it, and if you make money using this 30K or using this $50 or $100, whatever you qualify for, you get to keep those profits. Prime XBT is offering you the same thing, but their bonus goes up to $7,000. And the cool thing about Prime XBT, the amazing thing about Prime XBT, which makes it one of the best exchanges in this space, hands down, in my opinion, is the fact that you can trade indices like the S&P 500. You can even trade UK's FTSE 100, Germany's DAX, Japanese GP225. You can even trade commodities like oil, silver, gold, currencies as well. Very, very cool market right here, and this is all available with a Bitcoin deposit. So extremely cool exchange right here. There's no one in the space that does this as far as I know, and certainly not to the scale that Prime XBT does it, with a brilliant platform. So please do check it out if this is something that you're interested in, because you're also getting a $7,000 deposit bonus. That's just whatever you deposit, you get 7% of it back as a deposit bonus when you follow my link in the description down below. So do take advantage of that. And if we do manage to rise up, like I said, a little bit of resistance here would be expected, but if we're able to clear it and get above kind of 17.2, which was basically our previous area of resistance right here, I think Bitcoin should be able to target those highs again. I don't see anything standing between Bitcoin and 17 between 18.1 and 17.2k. This is a very, very nice range, and I think Bitcoin should be able to overcome it very well. But realistically, I actually think we'd get higher than that, up to my target of that kind of mid 18k range. We actually got there. We pretty much hit it. I mean, 18.4, close enough. I mean, I would have liked if we actually fully reached our resistance area, but this is fine. I think that if we are able to mount an attack up now, this would just mean that we've had a very good pullback, really. At the end of the day, just a good pullback. And to me, that, as somebody that likes to, pay attention to the trends, that is going to be a good sign. If, however, we end up losing the support area, then it's going to be right back down to the range lows for me, 15.7, maybe even as low as 15.5. But again, realistically, there's only so many times that you can target these lows, especially considering that there was never particularly strong support to begin with in this price range. And I'll show you why I'm saying that. Obviously, that is just an opinion of mine. But if we take a look back at what's been going on, just following this blue line, there's really not much price history that Bitcoin has had in this range. And when you don't have a lot of price history, look at this, there's barely any trading that ever happened here. Back in 2020, hardly anything at all. When you don't have a lot of price history, that means you really can't expect a lot of support. And if we stretch this all the way back to 2017, 2018, again, I mean, not a whole lot that's going on at this price level right here. I mean, we're basically, we're trading somewhere between, let's say like, the very low 17 to the mid 15k range, just this green box right here. I mean, the price just it doesn't really hang around in the range much, other than right here where we had 3 days of consolidation. For the most part, the price just trends straight through this range. We don't actually do anything with this range. What would be more interesting is, for example, this price box right here. We've got some really big reversals taking place here. We've got some important resistance. We've got another big reversal just shy of this box. Another couple reversals here, another reversal here, another resistance hit. If we stretch this box out a little bit more, we've got more resistance hits over here. This is an important price level, stretching between 11.6 and 14k. No surprise that this support box stretches right in between the key levels that I've been talking about on this YouTube channel for months. If you've been subscribed to this channel, if you've been engaging with it, hitting up the like button and all that beautiful stuff, you're going to know that because YouTube will have been pushing this content straight into your watch page. So definitely make sure that you're keeping an eye on this content so that you don't miss out on this very, very time-sensitive, these very, very time-sensitive bits of analysis. But like I said, that would be an example of a more important range, but we just don't have that right now. And for that reason, I can't reasonably expect that Bitcoin is going to be able to find a good amount of support in this range if we penetrate this support level again. If that's going to be the case, well, then I will expect that we start tumbling lower. And this is where the mind-blowing chart perspective that I wanted to talk to you about comes in today. What I'm going to do, and you've already seen me do this if you've been subscribed to the YouTube channel for a while, is I'm going to go on any Bitcoin chart. We're just going to take the Coinbase one because it's the one that I use the most. But before I do that, I'm going to type in 1-, and then I'm going to select this Bitcoin chart right here, hit enter, and this is going to give me an inverted chart of Bitcoin. And I've actually got this chart right here. And what this means is basically every single price thing that's happened on the chart is flipped vertically, meaning this is the high when we hit $69,000. In our case, let me hide my face so you can see this. In our case, that puts us at a price level of $68,000, minus $69,000 right here. And on the flip side, the high that we just hit, right here, this is actually the low in our market at minus 15.5. So this chart just completely flips things around. Most of you probably already know this because I've covered it with you quite a few times. And this chart is really interesting because it showed us that we actually kind of painted an inverse head and shoulders here, which are generally going to be quite bullish patterns. And you can see the market broke to the upside. Now, bear in mind, when I say this, that means the market has trended down because we are using negative price level, a negative price scale right here. The y-axis has been flipped like we've used a mirror. So where this would have actually been a bearish pattern in real life, on this inverse chart, it actually looks like a bullish pattern. And this is really useful for helping us gain a little bit of perspective and showing us that we had this very important area of support right here. Resistance right here between $33,000 and $30,000, which is where we were getting resistance from on this inverse head and shoulders. And then the market was able to pump up above it. We even got a back test showing us that this is legitimate price action, and then we skyrocketed to the upside. From there, we formed, check this out, an ascending triangle right here. It's not perfect, but we did form an ascending triangle right here, and we captured a little bit more resistance at this $18,000, $19,000 range, And then but with this price range, we actually had a 40% move to the upside. That was basically our breakout if we measure this ascending triangle from its height. And what we can actually do is, now that we've had the breakout on this side, we can actually use that to extrapolate a target for ourselves, looking at the exact same 40% correction, or in this case 40% pump to the upside. That would put us at a speculative price target of $10,900. Now, this is not perfect analysis. There are flaws with this. This is not an ascending triangle. This is just more or less something that looks like one. This is also something which, takes a really, really big price target, and the drawings might not be 100% accurate. It doesn't really matter. Whether we top out at $11,900 or $9,000 honestly doesn't make a difference, because what we are looking at overall is the big percentage move, just in general terms. I'm sure most of you will understand what I'm talking about here. And because of that, that does give us quite an aggressive target to the upside right here. But you know what I really don't like, guys? What I really don't like is that if we take a closer look at what's actually been going on here, we've got the exact same back test situation right here. We got our breakout, we moved to the upside, we've had a pullback, we back tested the same range that we were using as resistance, right? This is what I was talking about a little bit earlier. Let me just bring it back on the normal chart, where I was saying to you guys that, my target for Bitcoin was the mid $18,000 range. And look, even though we didn't quite get there, we got close enough for this to be significant, in my opinion, and to mean that really, in broad terms, if we just focus our attention on the first red line down here, this was our support level for quite a while. We basically came back up to it right here and found resistance. All right, you could say that we didn't get close enough, but like I said, I don't think that would be particularly reasonable. We weren't even a percentage point away when we were up that high from our key resistance area. And honestly, what I was saying would be the biggest resistance area for Bitcoin on this chart just for now anyway, the most important one at least as well. We basically came right back to it. And if we take a look at this again, this to me, I mean, it's a very, very classic back test showing me that we've got that breakout. The bears in this case have had a chance to drive the market lower, but the bulls stepped back in, bought Bitcoin, and are sending it a little bit higher. This is a very, very useful chart for ironing out any biases you have. And if we take a look at this on the previous chart as well, on this chart right here, we had the same thing, right? We got our breakout, we came back down after a little bit of time. It wasn't instant, ladies and gents. It certainly wasn't instant, but we came back after a little bit of time and we got this bearish retest, and then we continued on upwards. We got this bullish retest and then we continue on upwards. So we're in a very similar pattern right now with this chart, and I really want to make sure that we are paying attention to it, because when we get breakouts, right, you might want to, just blow this off for whatever reason and decide that this isn't the most useful or accurate bit of analysis in the world. But one of the things that absolutely, in my opinion, skyrockets the validity and the accuracy of analysis, the likelihood of this analysis being correct, one of the things that skyrockets it, in my opinion, is when you get a back test. And the reason that I think they're so significant, guys, is because when you get a back test, what that really means is the market is giving us a chance to reverse the price action, but the market isn't taking it, right? We have a chance to reverse the price action, trend to the downside again, but we're not taking it. Instead, we're just getting right back on that horse and kicking it to move a little bit faster. And that, I think, is something that is quite concerning. And we take a look at the Ichimoku cloud right here on the daily time frame. Again, phenomenal indicator that I found very, very useful. And look at how consistently we're getting bounces off this cloud. This is the daily Ichimoku cloud, again, inverted here. So again, just putting a mirror on the y-axis, on this axis right here, flipping it, and we have a very, very clear situation here where the market is continuously, reliably, consistently finding support in a in quite a long-standing, very, very useful indicator. So I don't know, guys, you make your own conclusions based off that however you want. But one of the things that I think is good is that we are really tightening up. We really tightened up right here. We nearly lost our support here. We're tightening up again now, although this is January of next year. But we are tightening up, and that means that this support cloud is closing. And if the support cloud does close and the market starts to paint some more bearish signs, oh yeah, we could absolutely kind of reverse back down. And we have a little bit of hope for that. This sign right here that I've been talking to you guys quite a bit on the YouTube channel about is this kind of rising wedge pattern that Bitcoin's on still, with the inverted chart, where we've just kind of, potentially lost a little bit of momentum when trading to the downside. Trading to the upside right here. Generally, these kind of patterns tend to be bearish in financial markets. It's a little bit less clear for Bitcoin specifically, but generally these are considered to be bearish patterns. And one of the reasons that I say for that is quite simply because it looks to me like on this leg here and on this leg here, when we were moving up, that the market was just moving with a little bit more aggression than what we're seeing overall with this price action here. I mean, ultimately what this shows us is that we're slowly trending higher, but the price levels are converging, meaning we're entering a narrower and narrower range. And generally this will mean that some sort of breakout is due, right? And generally with a pattern like this, you're looking at a higher probability of actually moving down and a lower probability of moving up. So that is something which I would certainly keep in mind, because even though there's all of these really, really bearish things going on, there is this little glimmer of hope for the market, I think, and that is something which I'm quite interested in watching to see if it plays out. We've actually been covering similar bits of price action to this for a good amount of time now, and if I show you one of the examples of that I've been talking about on this YouTube channel, that switches onto the weekly time frame, put us on the logarithmic chart, zoom out a little bit, I've been quite vocal about how I'm seeing that Bitcoin has been in a range that looks, something a little bit like this, where, for the most part, we've just kind of been trending down, but we have actually managed to find some really nice support areas along this downtrend right here. And we have also found some consistently useful resistance areas. So this is a very similar chart to the one that I've just shown you right here. This is just a longer time frame, right? So you can draw this differently, right? I mean, you can zoom in onto the 1 day and draw this again, and again we're on the normal chart now, bear in mind, so things will probably be making a little bit more sense. And we've got something, I don't know, it depends on where you draw it from, but we have potentially got some signs here that we could be narrowing and just jumping down a little bit less aggressively, which could be an indication that the market is losing some of its bearish momentum. Ultimately is what it means, is that the market is losing some of its momentum, and the momentum happens to be bearish right now, which means that we could be looking at a reversal to the upside. So I still think that is a factor which is at play in this market. So you can zoom this out, and I mean the line still holds as well, which is one of the best telltale signs that you've got a good line on your hands right here, is that it lines up with areas of the market that previously just seemed completely unrelated, but for some reason it's just still useful. This is the kind of big green flag that the market can show you that your analysis is correct. And so that is something which I think is worth paying attention to, because what I'm always interested in are what are the hard hitting bits of evidence that prove to me the same things, and this right here I think is a very, very important one. So we've got the speculative target right here, like I've shown you, with that 40% in this case pump to the upside right here. That would take us up to about minus $11,000. Definitely something that I think could end up happening, but short term, guys, we haven't actually lost it yet. We're not in a good position. We certainly could, and I wouldn't be surprised if we did, but for now, we're not in a particularly bad position, in my opinion. We still have a good amount of support, and as long as that's the case, we still have a chance at rising up. We have lost the structure of setting higher lows, which I don't like. Oh, what have I done here? We have got the structure of setting higher lows here. We have lost the structure of setting higher lows here, which I don't like. But at the same time, we are still just at support levels, and it's quite typical for the market to overshoot our support levels a little bit and then still continue to rise up. So this is something that I'm going to be continuing to watch as it develops in this market. Of course, every update that I make, especially down to the trades that I make, are going to be going inside of 𝐹𝑆 VIP. I actually executed a trade on Bitcoin the other day. It was a long position. Unfortunately, I got stopped out on this drop right here, which is completely fine. It's part of the game. But if you want to jump inside of 𝐹𝑆 VIP, see how I'm navigating these beautiful wins, take a look at this. This isn't mine. This is one of our VIP members. If you want to see how we're navigating our beautiful wins and how we're navigating our losses that are controlled and managed, jump inside of 𝐹𝑆 VIP. Take a look at this. I'm not hiding anything from you guys. I show it all to you after it happens, and VIP see it in real time. I regularly close positions out at break even or close to it. I regularly take profits where I think it's sensible, and I even get losses that stretch a little bit more than break even sometimes, and that again is completely fine. It is just part of the game, and it is totally unrealistic to expect anything different. VIP is the full deal where you see how all of that goes down in real time, along with having access, like I said, most of you will have it for free, to my 4 Flies Academy courses, where I'm teaching you everything I know about trading from A to Z right here with me on video. And when you're in VIP, that means you can learn the theory in that course with the practical side by side, being inside of VIP, seeing how I'm applying those very same lessons that remain unchanged for me all the time in real time in this market. Very, very powerful package, and the way you can join is by following these steps on screen. Do make sure to take advantage of these huge deposit bonuses. Bybit offering you 30k, Prime XBT offering you 7k. Absolutely huge right here. We've got 37k in bonuses just between these two, and BitGet is still giving you guys up to $8,000 in rewards when you sign up using my link to BitGet as well, which is in the description down below. And you will be able to use this platform without a VPN and without KYC if that's something that interests you as well. So definitely check out the first two. BitGet also a great option. 30k on Bybit is absolutely ridiculous, and Prime XBT allowing you to trade all of these other markets is extremely impressive. I've been using Prime XBT for years and haven't ever had an issue, so please do check them out as well if you think that's something you'd be interested in. If you've enjoyed this one though, you know exactly what to do. Hit up the likes, subscribe, take the bell, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.